Hey, what's up everybody? Diego here. Today our technician Shane will be showing us how to remove the display, remove the VHB, install new VHB, and replace the display. Woo! Shane doing work. Shut down the iMac and unplug the power cable. Disconnect any peripherals and place it on an ESD safe surface with the display facing forward. Wait 2 minutes. Insert the foam wedge between the stand and the display so it covers the power receptacle. We'll be using the display removal tool or pizza cutter, so you'll want to check the condition of the wheel or blade. If there is any sign of wear, replace the wheel with a new one. Insert the tool between the display and the rear housing. Hold the display removal tool perpendicular to the edge of the display. Roll the tool back and forth along the top edge, but avoid the area around the camera. Roll the tool back and forth until it moves with no resistance. Move to the sides as the VHB releases. Avoid hitting the tool on the chin as it can damage the blade. Use the flat end of a black stick to check for any missed areas on the sides or top. Insert the flat end and move it along the opening to check that the VHB has released. Carefully separate the display panel from the top of the rear housing. Tilt the display open just enough to release the EDP and display power cables. On the EDP cable, flip the locking lever and pull the cable straight out of the connector. Pull the power cable straight out of the connector. Slowly tilt the display down. Use the display removal tool or black stick as needed. Pull the tabs to release the bottom strips of VHB. When the display panel is completely free of VHB, remove it and store it in an ESD safe bag. Now that the display is off, the real work can begin. Cleaning off the VHB from the rear housing and the display. You need to be careful not to damage the mylar on the display and around the wireless antennas. Use the flat end of a black stick and your fingers to pull the VHB strips. Remove any remaining adhesive by wiping the rear housing and the back of the display panel with an IPA wipe. Before proceeding on repairs in the chin area, you'll also want to remove the chin strap. It's a first step for removing the logic board, power supply, and the speakers. Check the service guide for the particular model you are servicing for specific instructions about removal of the chin strap. Once you remove the screws, you can use a black stick to gently lift the chin strap and remove it. At this point, you can proceed with any necessary repair procedures on the iMac. When your other repairs are complete, you'll need to install the chin strap and the new VHB. Place the chin strap in the rear housing. Be sure to position the mylar ridge on the chin strap to the left side of the enclosure. Use the flat end of a black stick to hold the chin strap in place as you install the screws. Check the service guide for the appropriate VHB strips to install on the iMac you are servicing. VHB strips are a one-time use part. The rear housing has alignment holes for the placement of the VHB strips. Remove the paper release liner and align the strip with the rear housing. Use the pointed end of a black stick to align the VHB strip. With the black stick in the alignment hole, position the VHB strip on the edge of the rear housing. Use your finger to smooth the strip and to verify there are no bumps. Repeat the process for the other strips. If a strip doesn't align correctly, remove it and start again. For the models with the microphone in the chin area, be sure the VHB aligns correctly and doesn't cover the microphone hole. You don't want your customer to return with a microphone issue. With the chin strap and the VHB installed and the old VHB cleaned off the back of the display panel, we're ready to replace the display panel. Before we close it up, do a last check that all cables and screws are in the right place on the iMac. Place the display panel on the chin of the rear housing. Align the panel so that it is centered and seated. Use the display removal tool to check alignment of the display with the sides of the rear housing. If not properly lined up, adjust the display panel and check again. Anchor the display panel with a strip of painter's tape at the bottom of the display and the chin. Step back and recheck the alignment of the display panel. Adjust it if necessary. Place 2 or 3 vertical pieces of tape along the bottom for added support. Use one hand to hold the display while you use the other to release the release liners on the bottom VHB strips at the chin. Tilt the display forward but leave enough space to connect the EDP and power cables to the logic board. Connect both the EDP and power cables. Check that the connectors are firmly seated and close the locking levers. Then, remove the release liners on the sides and the top. Tilt the display panel into place. Use the display roller to adhere the VHB to the display glass while you hold the display with your other hand. Roll only upward or side to side. Don't pinch or press the display. It may damage the glass. On the right and left sides of the display, start at the bottom edge and roll upward. Do not roll down. Remove the painter's tape and the service wedge. Clean the display glass with a clean, damp, and lint-free cloth. Use an IPA wipe to remove any VHB residue. It's always a good idea to clean the iMac and at the same time do a visual inspection to make sure it's good to go. That's it for now. Check out the links below for service documentation and other information. We'll see you soon.
Camera. To perform this procedure, you must, before beginning this repair, unplug the computer power cord and wait at least 2 minutes for the electricity to discharge. Before performing this repair, remove the components in order. Refer to the service guide for detailed instructions. Be sure to have all required tools on hand. Follow proper ESD guidelines. Use the pointed end of a black stick to gently flip open the lock bar on the camera cable. Grasp the cable and pull it out of the connector. Remove the 2 T5 screws that secure the camera. Gently grasp the camera and remove it. Position the replacement camera and install the 2 T5 screws. Remove the protective film from the lens. Carefully insert the camera cable into the connector. Flip the lock bar closed and press around the edges to secure it. To complete this repair, install the components in order. Symptoms of an improperly installed camera may include unrecognized camera or intermittent camera issues. 27-inch, late 2014. Camera microphone cable. To perform this procedure, you must be qualified to computer power cord and wait at least 2 minutes for the electricity to discharge. Before performing this repair, remove the components in order. Refer to the service guide for detailed instructions. Be sure to have all required tools on hand. Follow proper ESD guidelines. The camera microphone cable has one combined connector to the logic board and 2 separate connectors to the camera board and microphone board. Use the pointed end of a black stick to gently flip open the lock bar on the camera cable. Grasp the cable and pull down to unplug it. Use the pointed ends of 2 black sticks to disconnect the microphone cable. Use the pointed end of a black stick to flip open the lock bar on the logic board. Pull the cable, not the lock bar, to disconnect the camera microphone cable from the logic board. Before removing the cable, note the cable routing. Release the cable from the adhesive on the rear housing. Position the camera microphone cable so that the bend in the cable lies flat on the rear housing. Slide the microphone cable evenly into the connector on the microphone board. Connect the camera cable to both the camera and the logic board until no pins are visible. Use the flat end of a black stick to flip the lock bars closed. Gently press the lock bars to secure each end of the cable. To complete this repair, install the components in order. Symptoms of an improperly installed camera microphone cable may include an unrecognized camera or distorted audio. 2015. Bluetooth and Wi-Fi antennas. Move the components in order. Refer to the service guide for detailed instructions. Be sure to have all required tools on hand. Follow ESD guidelines. The 3 replaceable antennas can be identified by cable length and location inside the computer. The Bluetooth antenna has the shortest cable and is located at the top of the housing. The middle Wi-Fi antenna is mounted to the upper right side of the housing. The lower Wi-Fi antenna has the longest cable and is mounted to the lower right side of the housing. Choose the antenna that you want to replace. This video shows the procedure for the lower Wi-Fi antenna. Slide the wireless card support tool into place behind the wireless card. Move the lever to the right until the inner block presses against the wireless card. Remove the Torx T5 screw and the washer from the wireless card. Use ESD-safe tweezers to disconnect the connector from the wireless card. Avoid using a metal tool that could crimp or damage the cable. Use a black stick to gently lift the cable and its tape alongside the air loop gasket. Remove the 2 Torx T4 screws that secure the antenna body to the rear housing. Remove the antenna from the computer assembly. Install the 2 Torx T4 screws to secure the antenna body to the rear housing. Tape the antenna cable to the rear housing and along the air loop gasket. Make sure the tape lies flat. Slide the right bracket under the left bracket. Use ESD-safe tweezers and a black stick to connect the cable to the wireless card. Install the Torx T5 screw and the washer at the wireless card. Move the lever on the wireless card support tool to the left. Remove the wireless card support tool from the rear housing. Check the air loop gasket for any flattened loops. Use tweezers to open the flattened loops. Install the components in order.
Hey, Diego here. Today we're going to be taking a look at removal and replacement of the hard drive on a 27-inch iMac. We'll be using the 2017 model, so if you're working with a different model, that's okay. Just be sure to check your service guides. Ensure that all your customers' data is backed up before removing the hard drive. Follow the first steps below to start at this point. Remove the screws from the left mounting bracket. Remove the left bracket. Slide the hard drive out of the grommets on the right bracket. Disconnect the hard drive cable from the top of the hard drive. Remove the hard drive. Alright, that was pretty simple. When replacing the hard drive, transfer the 4 T8 screw pins to the new hard drive. Now let's install the hard drive. The combo cable should lay flat under the hard drive. Plug the combo cable into the hard drive. Install the hard drive so the pins fit into the right bracket. Install the left bracket and the 2 screws. Follow the last steps below to complete this repair. When your repair is complete, you'll have to prepare the new hard drive. Refer to article TP767, reinstalling the software that came with your computer. Check out the links below and we'll see you next time. Hey everybody, Diego here. We're going to be taking a look at the removal and replacement of the power supply on a 27-inch iMac. We'll be using the 2017 model, so if you're working with a different model, be sure to check your service guides. Follow the first steps below to begin at this point. Disconnect the power signal cable. Remove the 4 screws from the power supply. Slide the power supply slightly up and out of the chin. Reach under the logic board and disconnect the DC power cable from the back of the logic board. Tilt the power supply slightly to disconnect the AC power cable. When you're lifting the power supply, be careful not to let it contact the enclosure. Remove the power supply. Now we're going to replace the power supply. Position the power supply over the rear housing chin. Connect the AC cable. This cable only connects in one direction. Connect the DC power cable to the logic board. Check that the cable is securely connected. Lower the power supply into the chin well, being careful again not to let the power supply contact the enclosure or other components. Install the 4 screws. Install the 2 longer screws on the top first. Connect the power signal cable. Follow the last steps below to complete the repair. Thanks for watching and we'll see you soon. Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Diego. Today we're going to be walking through removal and replacement of the logic board on a 27-inch iMac. We'll be using the 2017 model, so if you're working with a different model, be sure to check your service guides. Follow the first steps below to begin at this point. Disconnect the camera locking lever by flipping the bar to open it. Remove the cable from the connector. Disconnect the audio cable from the lower right corner of the logic board. Disconnect the microphone flex cable from the lower left corner of the logic board. Flip the lever to open it and carefully slide the cable out of the connector. To avoid damaging this delicate cable, tape the microphone flex to the rear housing with a piece of painter's tape. Slide the wireless card support tool into place between the rear housing and the wireless card. Note that the end fits around the standoff on the rear housing. Remove the 2 screws on the wireless card brackets. Use the antenna tool to disconnect the 4 antennas from the wireless card. Remove the wireless card support tool. Remove the 7 T8 screws, the T25 standoff, and the 2 T10 screws on the top of the heatsink. Loosen the T8 captive screw at the center of the logic board. Carefully tilt the board to disconnect the hard drive data and power cables from the connectors on the back of the logic board. Pull out the power cable. Pinch the clip on the data cable and pull toward the rear housing. Remove the logic board and place it in an ESD-safe bag. Always handle the logic board by the edges. Never handle it by the heatsink. Verify that the tamper indicator labels are intact on the heatsink. Now let's replace the logic board. If you are installing a replacement logic board, transfer the hard drive data and power cables, power supply signal cable, wireless card, and flash storage to the new logic board. Connect the hard drive data and power cables to the back of the logic board. Insert the logic board into the rear housing. Align the connectors with the ports. Notice the 2 alignment pins on the I/O connectors that insert into the blind holes in the rear housing. Install the 7 T8 screws, the 2 T10 screws, and the T25 standoff. Don't tighten the screws until you complete alignment of the ports. To ensure proper alignment of the logic board, plug a USB, a Thunderbolt cable, and an SD card into the ports, while tightening the screws on the logic board, including the T8 captive screw. Remove the cables and the SD card from the ports. Connect the camera cable, the audio connector, and the microphone flex cable. Position the wireless card support tool between the rear housing and the wireless card. Use the antenna tool to connect the antennas to the wireless card. Install the 2 screws on the wireless card brackets. Remove the wireless card support tool. And that's how you replace the logic board. Follow the last steps below to complete the repair. When you install a replacement logic board, you'll have to apply the new Ethernet ID label included in the box with the replacement logic board on the bottom of the stand. Then use Blankboard Serializer to set the serial number after the iMac has been reassembled. Check out the links below and we'll see you soon.
5K, 27-inch, late 2014. Hard drive data and power cable. Unplug the computer power cord and wait at least 2 minutes for the electricity to discharge. Before performing this repair, remove the components in order. Refer to the service guide for detailed instructions. Although no tools are required, be sure to perform this procedure at a properly configured workstation. Follow proper ESD guidelines. The hard drive data and power cable on the iMac 27-inch late 2013 and iMac Retina 5K 27-inch late 2014 has one combined connector to the hard drive and two separate connectors to the logic board. Disconnect the hard drive data and power cable from the two connectors on the back of the logic board. Route the cable as shown. Refer to the service guide for cable routing instructions. Remove the adhesive backing from the replacement hard drive cable. Ensure that the hard drive cable lies flat and adheres to the rear housing. Connect the hard drive data and power cable to the two connectors on the back of the logic board. To complete this repair, install the components in order. Symptoms of an improperly installed hard drive data and power cable may include startup issues and intermittent
Diego here. We're going to be taking a look at the removal and replacement of the flash storage or SSD on a 27-inch iMac. We'll be using the 2017 model, so if you're working with another model, be sure to check your service guide. Also, ensure that the customer's data is backed up before removing the flash storage. Be sure to follow the first steps on the page below. You will start this procedure with the logic board removed and laying on an ESD-safe surface. The flash storage is located on the back of the logic board. Remove the screws securing the flash storage. Gently pull the flash storage straight out of the connector. Don't tilt the card up as it may damage the connector. Replacement of the flash storage is pretty simple. Be sure that you're using an exact replacement part for your customer's iMac. Now to complete this repair, just work backwards. Insert the flash storage straight into the connector. Secure it with the screw. That's it. Complete the last steps below to finish the repair. Remember to consult the article Reinstalling the Software That Came with the Computer. Cool, we'll see you next time. What's up everybody, I'm Diego. Today we're going to be taking a look at the replacement of the wireless card on a 27-inch iMac. We'll be using the 2017 model, so if you're working with a different model, be sure to check your service guide. Be sure to follow the first steps on the page below. You'll start this procedure with the logic board removed and laying on an ESD-safe surface. The wireless card is located on the back of the logic board, but there are two screws on the front of the logic board that secure it. Remove the screws. Then carefully turn the logic board over. Use the flat end of a black stick to gently loosen the bond of the thermal material between the wireless card and the logic board. Gently wiggle the wireless card straight out of the connector. Don't tilt the wireless card up as it may damage the connector. Now let's go ahead and replace the wireless card. Before we start, check the condition of the thermal pad on the replacement wireless card. A damaged thermal pad shows uneven borders or lost adhesion. You should always replace a damaged thermal pad with a new one. Hold the wireless card by the edges and slide it into the connector on the logic board. Gently turn over the logic board and install the two screws. That's it. Complete the last steps below to finish the repair. We'll see you soon.
Wireless card. Before performing this repair, remove the components in order. Refer to the service guide for detailed instructions. Be sure to have all required tools on hand. Follow ESD guidelines. Remove the two Torx T4 screws that secure the wireless card to the logic board. Turn the logic board over. Use the flat end of a black stick to loosen the thermal bond between the wireless card and the logic board. Wiggle and pull the wireless card to remove it. Use an IPA wipe to remove any excess thermal material from the logic board. If reusing the same wireless card, then use an IPA wipe to remove any excess thermal material from the wireless card. Attach one thermal pad from the kit into place on the replacement wireless card. Insert the wireless card into the slot on the logic board. Turn the logic board over. Install the two Torx T4 screws to secure the wireless card. Install the components in order. Refer to the service guide for detailed instructions.